Hi everyone, I'm Tammy Gray and I'm your instructor for this course. One of the things I've noticed as I've been teaching at Grand Canyon University is students still often struggle with APA formatting papers. So what I'd like to do is just briefly review some APA techniques for you. Now, I know many of you are good at writing APA papers and maybe just need a quick brush up, and many of you continue to struggle. So hopefully either way this will be beneficial to everyone. So let's begin. First of all, for APA papers, we use the 6th edition publication manual of the American Psychological Association. APA is typically the documentation style that is used in behavioral and social sciences. And this, of course, is the documentation style we will use in this class. APA is used to effectively write professional papers. Clarity and detail is essential in writing, and APA helps us with this. One of the great websites that I will often refer you to is apastyle.org. This website gives you some great information and also some tutorials for you to review. So let's talk about what an APA paper contains. First of all, we need a title page with an introduction, the body of paper with headings, and of course the conclusion, and also a reference page. And now we'll go over these one by one. The title page. Basically what I have here where it says how to write an APA paper. This is the title of your paper. Your name, as you see my name is here. I put Grand Canyon University, but what you would need to put here is your class. So for example, professional capstone course. I put my name again here as well as the instructor, and then the date. All of this is centered in the middle of the paper. And the title page also contains a running head and page number that'll be located here at the top of the page, and we'll review the running head in just a minute. So these are the 5 things that would be required for your title page, and again they're centered in the middle of your paper. The running head, this is confusing for some people and often difficult to format. Running heads are always located at the top of the paper. On the title page, and strictly only on the title page, your running head will include the word running head, then your title, then the page number, which is indented all the way to the left. So basically, your title page will have running head, the title of your paper, and then all the way indented to the left will be your page number, which will be page number 1 for your title page. Subsequent pages include only the title and then the page number indented to the left. So for example, on page 2, you would only have your title here, and then page 2 indented all the way to the left. Now I know there's several programs out there such as Pearl that actually format papers for you, APA papers for you, and that may be a good thing to look into. The introduction, this is next. All papers have an introductory paragraph. This is absolute requirement for any professional paper. This introduction introduces the reader to the paper and states the purpose of the paper. The last sentence of your introductory paragraph is your thesis statement, and your thesis statement tells the reader what the paper will cover in one sentence. And you need to try to use this paragraph to grab the reader's attention. You can open introductory paragraphs several ways. You can begin by giving statistics. You can begin by listing your problem. You can begin an introduction by using a quote, and then moving into your thesis statement. But let me give you an example of your thesis statement. The thesis statement again tells the reader what the paper will cover in one sentence. So as an example, I have down here, this paper introduces the problem of patient education regarding diabetes and will discuss ways to improve patient compliance with diabetic medications. Now, the paper could be doing several other things as well, and you would include that in your thesis statement. So I may, for an example, begin the paper by stating the problem, which would be numerous studies have shown that patients are non-compliant with their diabetic medications because of lack of education. Then I might give a statistic. 100,000 people don't take their diabetic medications correctly. And then I would move into my thesis statement. And this would comprise my introductory statement. And again, that's just an example, but this is the basis of an introduction. Then we're going to move into the body and headings of your paper. The headings are essential in APA format and should not be confused with the headers at the top of the page. In other words, there are running heads and there are headers in the body of the paper. The headers help the paper stay organized and inform the reader of what to expect, and they serve to add to the professional look of your paper. And in this class, I want you to use your assignment requirements as the headings in your paper. This ensures you cover all the assignment requirements, because many times there are several requirements or your paper can be lengthy and you end up leaving out a requirement and lose a lot of points. So the best way to go about writing a paper in this class is to use the weekly checklist, and this is for my professional capstone course. Every week there's a weekly checklist that tells you the assignment requirements. I want you to go by, say, week 2 is weekly checklist, take those assignment requirements and use those as headings in your paper. Students frequently mistake the requirements or forget a part of the required assignment, and by following the weekly checklist and using these as headings, you'll manage to meet all the requirements, in addition to correctly formatting your APA paper and helping to add to the professional look and organization of your paper. It also lets me know when I'm grading your paper exactly what I'm reading and the intent of your paragraph. So again, use headings in your paper, and I cannot stress that enough. Now we'll move into the body of the paper. The paragraphs following the introductory paragraph start the body of your paper. There are many paragraphs in your paper depending on the length of your paper. And one important thing is your transitions between paragraph and sections. Transitions are words or phrases that help your reader keep up with you while reading your paper. If you have one paragraph, for example, about bears, and the next paragraph about salmon runs in Alaska, you still need a transition to get your audience to bridge the gap between the two. And you can go to the apastyle.org or even Google and do some research about transitioning between paragraphs so that the body of the paper flows smoothly from one paragraph to the next. Now, formatting the paper. This is very, very important. The font in APA papers is always Times New Roman 12-point font. I know students use several different fonts trying to make the paper look fancy, but again, Times New Roman is the only acceptable font for APA paper. Occasionally, you will see some Arial font used, but I would prefer that you stick with Times New Roman font, and the size should be 12 points. The main text of your paper has the first line indented of 0.5 inches, as would any paragraph. And you can do this either by tabbing the first line over or by highlighting the text and going into the paragraph settings and changing them to first line indentation. And that's in your toolbar in the Microsoft Word under paragraph. Microsoft Word also has the default setting of adding space between paragraphs. Now you can correct this easily by going into the paragraph setting in your Microsoft toolbar and removing the space after the paragraph to 0 points. You'll have to go in and play with this because unfortunately I can't pull this up in this presentation to show you. But when you pull your toolbar up in your Microsoft Word, if you go close to under the review, towards the bottom of that bar, you'll see paragraph and a little arrow to the right. When you click on that, it opens up ways to format paragraphs in your paper. And again, you can Google that as well to help you with that. I wish I could tech savvy enough to show you that in this presentation, but I'm not able to. And last, we move into the conclusion. This will be the last paragraph or section, which will be basically summarizing everything covered in your paper. And the conclusion should not only summarize what you've covered, but restate your thesis statement. The paragraph basically gives you an opportunity to bring home any main points and final conclusions of your work. And again, all papers should contain a conclusion. And last, your reference page. Your references should be alphabetized by the last name of the first author of each source. And again, there's lots of programs out there that can do this for you, but you need your reference page alphabetized. All references should be double-spaced, as well as the rest of the entire paper. And each reference should use hanging indentation. If you're not familiar with hanging indentation, again, that's located under that paragraph section in Microsoft Word that you can format. But if you're not able to do this, basically the first line of the reference should be flush left, and each additional line of the reference needs to be indented. In Microsoft Word, you can find that hanging indent format in the paragraph options under Special. So once you click on that small arrow to the right under Paragraph, about midway, mid-center, you'll see something that says Special, and if you click on that, you can click on hanging indentation. And again, if you Google that, you should be able to see that, but all references need to be in that hanging indent format. And a couple other quick things. In article titles, when you are referencing just your article title, only the first letter should be capitalized. The title should not be placed in quotations, underlined, or placed in italics. Again, only the first letter is capitalized of the first word. All major words in the title of the journal should be capitalized, i.e., as example, the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. And books and journals always appear in italics. So when you're writing your journal title, that's placed in italics. And if you're writing your article title, only the first word is capitalized and it is not placed in italics. And those are just a couple of the frequent mistakes that students make over and over again. And I'm going to go over just a couple more with you real quick, and then we can finish this up. When you're giving a direct quote, when you directly quote an author, the page number is listed. So here's just an example for you. According to Gray, 2015, and in quotes, I'm placing the quoted material. When you quote someone, you use this format, which includes the page number of the quoted material. And then at the end of that quote, in parentheses, is the page number of that quote. Another mistake that students frequently make, we get a lot of confusion when we have a group of 5 or more authors. The first time you cite them in the paper, or always on the reference page, you write out all the authors' names. Subsequent citings of these authors is when you can use the et al. For example, the first time, I've showed you an example here, I've listed all 5 of the authors out with the, all their names written. Now the second time, if I quote that same resource in the paper, I can just write Gray et al. And again, that's just for the second time. The first time and on the reference page, all the authors' names are written out. And lastly, when you're citing authors within the body of the paper, use only the last names, no initials. So, for example, I do one here. It is important to make sure I use correct APA format. And my reference would be Gray 2015. And so, in other words, I wouldn't put Gray, T.L, 2015. No initials, only the last names. So those are just some of the common mistakes that students do over and over again. And I will always refer you back to our very first slide, to the website apastyle.org, and also the APA 6th edition reference manual for any APA.